Hello, Dr. Laitman. Hello to all of our viewers. And we are on our weekly reporters meeting. We publicize articles on a daily basis. And there are hundreds and even thousands of responses, shares, likes. And today we've collected several questions that we see that repeat themselves from our viewers, and we'd like to simply hear what Dr. Laitman has to say. And let's start with the first question and take it from there. First question, Lily is asking, it sounds great, the connection between us according to the laws of nature and everything, but how will we go and buy groceries and the supermarket, where we will live, how will we pay our mortgage and not find ourselves on the street? How are these things related to one another? I don't know. People have to work. They have to work not in order to have what to eat, but also in order to take care of others. And people also have to care for their families, children, everything. What are we talking about here? Just one thing. Where we harm nature, the integral nature as a whole, we don't touch that. Another thing is that wherever we can increase the good interconnections in nature, we do that. Meaning, there is a part in our work where we're cautious of interfering with the laws of nature, and a part where we can add. And this is actually how we bring to the correction of nature, to what to begin with we have corrupted to begin with. How come? Why? Because due to our ego, we see nature as something corrupted. Ilana says, it sounds like heaven, but what's going to happen the day after the corona? We're going to all the garbage that we had before with the media, judicial system, and I agree, 100%. It's terrible. All those systems you've just named, there is injustice, there is corruption there. There is nothing there that's close even to correct, straightforward, mutual laws like exist in nature. And therefore, these systems, they actually destroy our entire foundation, our entire life. That's true. So how not to go back to the same crimes, corruptions? We first of all have to learn what does it mean to have a correct attitude between people, correct relationships between people and nature as a whole, the still, the vegetative, the animate, besides the speaking degree. And we have to see where in these laws can we benefit all the time, meaning to less and less get into these things egoistically, and if so, then how to correctly relate to things in a good, nice, and altruistic way. Another question, why do you praise the calm life at home so much? Is this considered a good life? We're completely lazy, not doing nothing instead of building nature. We have a break during which we can see how our entire previous life, was it correct or not? What did it lead us to? What do we have as a result? Besides some kind of game between egoistic creatures that compete endlessly, purposelessly. So this break in our activity, the coronavirus, this break is giving us an opportunity to examine our attitude to reality. If it's done, if not, what can I say? I continue explaining, and I try for the wisdom of Kabbalah to be closer to everyone, and that people will understand that it talks about how to arrange our life correctly, that it is actually the most current, necessary wisdom that we need nowadays on a daily basis, that we're entering such big crises. People are asking, why does nature have to punish everyone equally, despite of the harm that they cause to nature and so on? It seems that nature isn't treating us fairly. This is what we think. We are in an integral system, and the more we put our disbalance into this system, the more we interfere in a distorted way, wanting to bend the system, break it, twist it according to our own ego. Accordingly, we see the results, including the coronavirus and everything else that we do. We don't even understand what the correct nature is. The correct nature is that a wolf dwells with a lamb and a small child playing with them. This is the right nature, that we don't even understand what is that about. Whereas this nature and the nature of the wolf and the lamb and the child and everything, we don't see these things. We only see that wolves started coming out of their places, walking in our parks. Fish are jumping up and down in the ocean because we're not around, in rivers and wherever they're supposed to be instead of us. And everything, including everything, birds. We only ceased just a bit to interfere with nature in the destructive manner that we do. And immediately we see what a positive response is coming from nature. How much we have cursed it, damaged it, ruined it. And now we want to go back to that and to renew things the way they were. In the past, we saw unity among our nation in times of trouble. Today, even the corona can't connect us as a nation. Every denomination has their own demands, like the teachers, economists, healthcare. Everyone has their own demands instead of us coming together around this common problem. I don't see the corona as a force that corrects us. I see the corona as a force that's showing us where are we wrong. But where do we have to correct ourselves? There too. But not the correction itself. The correction itself is upon people to do, and therefore I don't have any complaints toward the corona. Why does it not correct? The corona does not have the force to correct things. It's called that the Creator has given it for us to do, that we're the ones that have to perform the corrections in nature. Yeah, but usually we all unite immediately around some common problem, and we saw it in times of war and so on, but actually, it's not so now. You're now revealing your multifaceted ego, and you can't be connected around that especially. You see how everyone's pulling in their own direction. But that you see that everyone's pulling in their direction, please clarify this and start thinking how to correct it. Our problems are becoming clear. About destroying nature and really sucking everything out of it, the question is, are governments supposed to prepare themselves and to limit excessive, excessive consumption? And do you see this happening? Please start talking about this, fighting for it. Please, it's all in your hands. I think that it's clear to every person who's sitting at home now that sees what's going on and maybe understands how many things he needs for them to return and the things that he doesn't need for them to return in order to just keep the pollution and prevent the pollution that we're causing and everything in nature. So we have to reach some kind of consensus that we, in a general consent, will limit ourselves. That these and those businesses, these and those factories, we are not allowing them to return. We're not going back to these businesses, factories. They're not necessary for our own existence. And how can such limitations, it's like really felt that the consumption culture, we have to put an end to it, but how will more rational, down-to-earth consumption bring to the correction of man? How do you tie these two together? Explanation. That's all there is. We have to explain eventually what is to our benefit in order not to destroy the environment. Eventually we're destroying our environment and it's destroying us. You're talking about some kind of a collective society. It's not for now, but for the future, that we have to reach a state where society will be like a kibbutz, that everyone will work according to how much they can, according to what society demands. That will be only a few hours during the day or during the week, and all the rest of their time, people will be engaged in connection, in integrating with one another, and researching the integral, infinite nature. Why will this kibbutz work better than the previous kibbutzes that we've built? No. There's no connection with how things used to be. Kibbutz, I mean that we'll work together. Kibbutz from the word to come together, that everyone comes together around our connection, the common mutual work that we have to do, so that in our connection we will feel the eternity, wholeness, and perfection of our connection. What is the role of the media in changing public opinion, especially nowadays? I don't think that our current media can help us, because they're all in the hands of the people with the money that are in power, and therefore I'm not pinning my hopes on them dealing with what's necessary, with what we need, if we're really talking about the big media. These are billionaires that are controlling everything only to the benefit of their own pockets. But still, we need to start where we can with what we can, explaining and implementing. There is this wave of business owners that are starting to commit suicide. People have no money to bring home. Probably it'll take some time until the government will know what to do. More people will die of hunger than from the virus. The question is, And this is a complaint against us. Why not bring a practical plan? I think that it is impossible to solve the problem of going back to the ordinary, let's call it normal life, without discussing it in society as a whole. And now we have the time. And we have the best possible conditions for it. Everyone's at home. Let's start to scrutinize what's necessary for our own existence. This is what we're talking about. Obviously, basic needs is food. Let's bring back the food industry, but only what's basic, only what's necessary. It's necessary to move food from place to place. So transportation, but only for this. Let's bring back everything that has to do with medicine. Maybe it has to do with, dentists and different kinds of doctors that were out of work now too. Let's bring back the necessary, essential things. But there has to be a national consent around this, that this is what we have to do. And this way, gradually, through common discussion in society, that will do this. And of course, there are such systems that we will, as if neglect, will not allow them to open their businesses. So we have to think, how do we care for them? How do we help these businesses become essential businesses if possible? And if not, then we will give some kind of different work for those people. Suppose they had a kiosk, not necessarily a kiosk, but just as an example. Then now we have to think, what will that person who had a kiosk do now? But I think that, and again, if we will discuss this as a society, then society will start presenting all of its problems, and it will be different. By this, we will raise a new generation, people that understand where do they live, how are things supposed to be. We'll also have discussions at schools between men, between women, so that, a wife at home, everyone could participate. Could we get organized between us, citizens, in order for everyone to have enough food? Is this the right approach? I don't think that Israelis are already ready for these things, for just distribution without the government taking care of all of its citizens. We lived such an egoistic life and such interest-driven systems that I don't think that the nation can fairly treat everyone. What could that kiosk owners and millions do? Because they don't have money, that's it. They've lost everything. I don't know. We have to discuss this. We have to have a national discussion about this. National discussion. It's not a matter of a restaurant or a kiosk or whatever, but these are actually things that you do need, but there are many bigger and smaller businesses that are simply destroying nature, that are destroying mankind. I don't know, we're also so used to how things were, and we're longing so much to go back to how things were but at least discuss this. But at least to discuss it. And also, we don't have to destroy entire businesses, but from each and every business we can cut off that part that's not necessary. I don't have to go into a shop and see 200 types of cheese. 100 is enough. And gradually, bit by bit, we will heal nature. When you're saying that we have to discuss this, are we supposed to approach and discuss, or first of all, there has to be some... This is what it means, that everyone together and explain why this way, why not that way, what's good, what's not, on part of ecology, medicine, science, all these things, but in a serious way, for it to really be the conversation. But a bunch of egoists talking about things, what could it lead to? Everyone wants their place. Still, it will give everyone some kind of data that then it will be possible to do something. I think that if we will accumulate, we will bring together each and every factory that now, if we'll, decrease the 100 sorts that a certain factory is creating to 20 sorts, 20 types of whatever it is, I think that this will already help nature a lot. Let's not destroy any business, but you don't sell cigarettes like before, suppose, right? So let's decrease all of these things. Decrease them. You go into a supermarket, and instead of a few miles of shelves, you'll have, instead of a few miles, you have 200 meters of shelves. That's it. And you buy there everything that you need. No problem. Why do you need all of these varieties? You don't need that. You're only letting all of those factories that want to get rich off that. You're simply allowing them to get rich. People are writing, okay, but what about my business? Why should I give up my business now? If it's a common decision, it doesn't matter what kind of business. Even if you're a thief, then steal half of what you usually steal. I'm in favor of not destroying any kind of business, but to simply turn down their volume. This discussion that you're offering to awaken this kind of discussion in the nation, can it open up that good heart that we're missing now? Mutual consideration. By this, we're starting to bring ourselves into balance with nature. By that, we will decrease the way we corrupt nature, we harm nature. We'll see how by that we're stopping the corruption, the destruction of nature. Only after we'll take such a practical decision, the change will begin, or when? After that, the change itself will come, of course. But by this, we raise an entire generation that will understand how to correctly relate to our situation, to the environment that we're in. Nature, from what point does it begin to change in relation to us? Will it start acting positively toward us? Once we start talking about it, that's already enough, because by this we start changing people, and this is the main thing. People that are listening to our talk are asking, Okay, until we'll start discussing this and there will be some kind of new approach, and what will people eat? Who's supposed to take care of them? What do you mean? We're not destroying anything. We're not destroying anything. We're only saying, very simple, everything that we used to produce, from now on, we leave half of that. Half the production, half of the variety. So you're going to back to Chanel number 5. That's it. That's all you'll have, like it used to be. A psychological research shows the different variants that influence the way different people deal with the coronavirus and the quarantine. Older people are mentally more capable than children. Families are more capable or deal better with things than bachelors, and so on. And the best way to deal with the current crisis is to help others, be a part of a community, be flexible, is helping others and working in a community. This is the way to be mentally immune. Only the feeling of connection. Only the feeling of society that we're all together. What is there about caring for others that heals a person, that protects them? From nature, we're all included in one system, even though that we don't feel it and we don't think that that's how it is. But the way we influence one another, we influence each other in a very internal and powerful way. Once we do it a bit more consciously, it will change us a lot. Us, our nature, the nature around us, everything. What will be with sports? There are many different. What's going to happen with sports after the corona? All the more they could go to different parks, different places where corona will not interfere and engage. In sports, I also see here that people go out and exercise, jog, walk. They do different things. Okay, next question. Many people are now adopting animals in order not to be alone. Well, it's because we have to be locked at home, but once we will relate differently toward each other, and this virus will pass according to the measure to which we will come closer to each other, then things will be different. We will really be able to determine new relations between us. This virus, like all other natural phenomena, results only as a result of our wrong relationships. Why is it bad to have different types or a variety of different cheeses if it doesn't harm anyone? It harms nature in general. The more we make and throw away, and half of what we make that we throw away later on, you're paying for it. What do you think? The boss, the proprietor pays for it? No. You buy a certain sort of cheese and that the other cheeses are not bought, you pay for all of those cheeses together. And besides that, you're destroying nature. that there's needless use of nature. We have to use nature in a way that is neither praised or condemned, namely, only what we need. And unless we come to that, then we will have even worse viruses than the corona. I enjoy listening to your lectures, and there's lots of rationale and a lot to learn, but still, they're very hard questions. Why is the incentive always negative? Because it is against our own ego. What can we do? Of course, this is how the responses are going to be. I myself don't want it too, but we have no choice. It's not that I don't feel like it. I'm telling you about the law of nature, and you should decide to keep it or not. You're not doing anything. You're not doing me any favors by this, but only yourselves. Marcus, please. Yeah, maybe just to ask about sports. Not only sports as a habit, a hobby. No, it's a profession. Why not? What's the problem? I don't see anything negative here. Like in everything else. People enjoy it. People enjoy soccer, enjoy different things. Please. The main thing is that by that they don't destroy society or nature. We used to travel. We used to go to the sea on a daily basis. And Rabash used to say we have to respect. We used to go by a sports stadium. He said we have to respect this place because people come here to enjoy. This was his attitude towards it. Another question. Why not ask the Creator for the public, for them to change themselves, for them to start to, consume rationally instead of restricting them? I don't understand. Again, he's saying, why not ask for the public to change them from reception to bestowal and save all the pain and everything? How can we do that? Everyone has their own personal ego, and everyone has to participate in their private correction. And by this, he is integrated with the public, and from this, we have the collective. Could there be such a state where a group will care for some other group, correct it, work for it? No, not for it, but they can help each other for sure, but not that someone corrects for something for someone else. That's impossible, because everyone has their personal correction, that this is what they have to go through, this is what they have to keep. Another question, there are many questions like people for whom it is hard to disconnect from the previous world. They say, I agree with most of your words, but allow me to say why is it important to have planes and flights. You have different cultures all around the world, so why not travel and come closer to the culture of other people? I'm not saying to avoid that. I'm not saying that we have to avoid this traveling and so on. I'm only saying that people have to dedicate themselves more to the connection between them. Otherwise, we are in contradiction with nature that is demanding of us to finally reach some kind of connection between us. We are the only part in nature that is in inner contradiction with one another on all levels and all fields. And by flying in different directions without use, what do you have as a result? What do you have as a result of having 100,000 planes in the sky in every given moment? How does that help humanity and everyone? I travel to most of the countries in the world, and what do I have as a result? Tell me. What do I have as a result? Isn't vacation something that a person needs? Vacation is something completely different. I'm asking. You didn't land yet, and you're flying out again. It's like a disease or something. And everyone pricks everyone else's eyes, and this is how we do it. It's out of emptiness, out of emptiness. It's like with children that run from corner to corner because they don't know how to, play nicely. You don't see the same in all those people flying to different countries. They don't look at each other. Both of them get on the plane, they fly someplace, look around, and also a bit, what do they do all day long there? I'm not against it. I'm only saying that it all has to nonetheless be in light of our commitment to reality that's forcing us. Otherwise, we'll have to deal with this corona for many years in different ways. On the one hand, you're not against it. On the other hand, you don't see any taste in it. I see taste in, first of all, us knowing what nature that's controlling us, what does it want of us? And when people will understand that, will they be able to fly to Europe, to travel in the mountains? Maybe so, why not? If by that he's not destroying nature, if by that he connects to other people, if by that he goes along with the process that we have to go through, we have to acknowledge, understand the general program of nature that is entirely directed at us connecting with one another to become as one. Are we headed toward that or not? And you're asking me about planes. Can I fly here or not? You have to feel this yourself. You have to bring yourself to a level where you will say, is it good for the world? By what I'm doing now, am I contributing something or not? Because if not, it's going to be bad for you and bad for the world. A young mother is asking, new children are born into a reality where you can't be physically in contact with your grandparents and so on. And she's asking, we're in a reality where you can't be in touch with any other people besides your parents. What should be special about raising them? What should we emphasize? It's not good that there's no grandparents. It's something that the children will really lack. It's something that the children will really lack. It's the continuity of generations. It's something that maybe we don't understand, but these 3 generations, that this is how it is customary, this is how it's given to us from nature, it's very important, it's very crucial, and that we're not doing it, it's a problem. So how to take care of this? To make sure that we build the right, correct society and that we'll want to be together. That the grandparents will also take care of their children. It's all very important, really. That we're raising them in solitude, disconnected from their grandparents, and that we work all the time too and can't give them the necessary attention. This brings our children, this raises our children to be machines, with lack of warmth, lack of the ability to really feel the good and correct environment of loving people. I wouldn't want to grow up this way. I got a lot from my grandparents. And I don't think that in the future we should build such families where there's a cut between the three generations. Now, because of the corona, it's recommended not to approach the grandparents in order not to endanger them because of the virus. So how in this current state can we compensate for it, because you're saying that the connection is very important? If you can't, you can't. We deserve this kind of punishment then. I have nothing to say. We have deserved this punishment. Zoom, mobiles. Does it help? Well, at least that. Phone, internet, that you can see them somehow. Yeah. But it's not the same warmth that you can receive from grandma. Under what conditions will we be able to go back to be in touch with our grandparents? And again, we're confined to our homes. When will we be able to physically reunite with our grandparents and everyone? When we will understand the good kind of ties that we have to build between us, suddenly we will see that it is allowed for us to go back to being in touch. What about the social skills of children that they won't meet their friends for month and month? How will it? Probably we have already reached a state where, just like we're isolated from others, then also our children are isolated, and they don't really mind that, but they play with their computer and their mobiles. And this is how we grow. Meaning a person already feels that he doesn't really need it. He has plans, he has programs, he has stuff, and it's enough. Miserable generation. In this relation, the question is, what do you think about the special education? Do they have to study at home too, in terms of, this is something else? No, I'm not getting into that. These are very subtle matters that have to be dealt with in a special way, both for the children and the organizers. About restaurants that are about to go back to a very limited kind of activity with very restricted menus. And how do you see all the coffee shops, restaurants? Will there be need for it, and to what extent? Of course people want to have that. Of course it's beneficial. And to eat together, sit at a coffee shop, drink coffee or tea together, it's all nice and could cause connection between people. But this is on condition that it will cause connection. We can take care of the coronavirus only in light of the correct connection between us. That's it. There's no compromise about this, but only this way. We'll examine this 1,000 times, and we will reach this decision for sure. And therefore, I'm not against anything, any business or, coffee shop or whatever. To the contrary, where people can go and enjoy and do and this and that. People should go and enjoy because people are going to enjoy themselves. I don't mean that along with it, there are different, dirty, there's lots of different dirty stuff with that. But I'm talking about theater and restaurants and things like that. All the more, please, no problem. But again, we have to understand we will not get rid of these viruses unless these places will be directed at connection between people. So what does it actually mean? If I have a restaurant and I want for my restaurant to be more connection oriented, what do I have to do? Try and think about it. Try to think about this. What should you do so that in your restaurant people will be more directed towards connection? It's really in the heart of a person that how does he do it? Yeah. We are describing the air. We are purifying the air and everything only through our attitude toward one another. And it will be revealed. One more thing. During the time, now in this current crisis, many people feel that suddenly they see that their partner isn't right for them. There's lots of, divorce and things like that. What can we learn from it? That the corona is there to relieve us from our incorrect relations, or we don't know how to behave. We don't know how to behave inside our relationships between spouses. Instead of determining that, okay, I'm now going to take my family apart or whatever else that is, that's forbidden. Of course, it's very hard for a person to stand another person if we're not built for it. If we're in a state where the parents are going to hunt and come back only at night, and the women are taking care of the children, or we go out to work and we don't see each other for hours and hours, but still that we're together, it's only on vacation like it used to be, and that's more than enough. So that's how I see it. So now I would really prevent all of these couples from getting divorced, No, you're not doing anything. First of all, we'll go back to normal work. Children will also go back to their correct functioning. And afterwards, after half a year, we'll see what do we do. Of course, if we see each other all day long and all night long, it's hard. No one can stand anyone this way. Unless we build something new, creatively. Norma? Yeah. We have comments in all languages, and one of the questions is, there are protests around the world against the quarantine in Paris, London, and the United States. It seems that still what's most important to people is their corporeal life. Meaning that as a humanity, we have not learned our lesson from this pandemic. We have to learn from this pandemic that it is forbidden for us to be connected because our connection passes viruses from one to the other. How will we make such a connection without passing viruses to one another? But that we will contribute health and a good and nice attitude and warmth and joy to each other. This is something that we have to learn how to do. The virus, all in all, shows us what are we doing wrong once we have reached a phase where it is impossible to keep ourselves any longer. Then we discover the virus. I'm really afraid now, not about the viruses, but what I'm afraid about is the wars between industrialists and between Europe and the United States and the whole world and China. This is a very big problem. This is a very big problem that can really bring to explosions and big problems, and this is what worries me. So I hope that somehow this will calm down, and there's going to be a serious war. How could that happen? First of all, there is a wave of all the factories and everything that was that we started manufacturing in China. Countries will try to bring the industry back home. And if that won't be possible, then they'll try to manufacture it at home. And that will cause serious problems, both local problems in China and also between China and these countries, international problems. And it's much worse than going to back to work in each and every country. Pay attention to that. There's another country. Trump criticized the World Health Organization that they really failed in dealing with the corona. He stopped their funding. What is the role of the World Health Organization nowadays? All of us have failed on the international level, national level, integral level, and everything. In everything that is related to the macro, beyond the boundaries of our country. No one wants to go out there and think about others, and it has already reached a state where all of these international organizations, what international? Take the UN as the most conspicuous example. How are they international? It's simply a collection of countries that, try to screw each other, curse each other, and whatever, from dusk till dawn. And that's it. So, what international organizations do you have? But there's a problem that one way or another, we're living on this planet. We have to have some kind of framework. I wouldn't cancel everything, but the fact that I don't have to fund these organizations if they don't care for me and I won't care for them, then that's correct. That's the right way to go about these things. But international organizations, we can't live without that. Go to Geneva in Switzerland. See how many international organizations you have there. Hundreds and hundreds of international organizations in this city. I walked around there on purpose to see what's going on. It's organizations in relation to how we share the frequencies in the air that we're now sending each other waves. How do we measure things? How do we fly? How do we... everything. Everything that in some way is beyond the boundaries of a certain country demands for it to be organized in an international way. So it depends what international organizations. The World Health Organization, it failed big time, that's for sure, in Trump's right. And the Americans in general, they're paying for all of these, they especially pay for these organizations, probably 90%. So it's good that they left the UN, it's good that they leave Europe and leave the World Health Organization and different other such organizations, because maybe this will help these organizations find a new life. Oh, what's going on now is that the world no longer believes in globalism. Each country cares for itself. But before that, no one cared for anyone anyhow. Only now you have the recognition of evil. Does Israel have to be less influenced by international organizations, to be more deal with their own? Israel cannot allow itself not to be influenced. Israel has to be good to everyone. Otherwise, if someone disregards us, it hurts us. We have to be good to everyone. Because we were powerless, because we're not, since we have no other choice, we have to suck up to everyone. But were we really to feel ourselves strong, because we're really in the center of the world and we have a special force above any other country and nation, then we would have really been on a very good level. But it's on condition that we also take this responsibility upon ourselves. Dr. Laitman, thank you very much for your wonderful answers. Thank you to all of our viewers, and we'll meet again Wednesday. Oh, and one last thing. Whoever wants to ask, through the Kabbalah site, there's the Corona site, there is a questionnaire there, and you can send questions to Rav, and we'll bring it up. Thank you very much, and all the best.